I just wanted to take another look at a short film today. Today's film is called I Live in the Night. It has a running time of 9 minutes and 46 seconds, and what kind of caught my interest on this is the directors or the filmmakers just had a very ambitious description. They said that it was inspired by Dario Argento, as well as David Lynch and John Carpenter, just to name a few directors. And I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting mix there. I'm kind of curious to see what they come up with. So it definitely does have an experimental film, kind of like an artsy feel to it, but a lot of the film is basically nonverbal. It's told through movement. You do have the atmospheric soundtrack throughout the film, but a lot of the storytelling is also told through the use of color. The beginning of the film, there's just one shot where the camera pans up and you see that you have a bright blue sky, it's cloudy, and then another half of the clouds are just, they look like rain clouds. So right off you see the contrast between light and dark. The film later moves into a combination, or rather the film later alternates between interior and exterior shots, so of course the exterior is still bright. The inside of the home is either a mixture of a dark setting with bluish lighting or just red bordello type lighting. So you still have the combination of light and dark, but it also just kind of makes you wonder, what are the colors meant to symbolize? Are they just going for the good versus evil type thing? And it just makes me wonder whether the protagonists in the film, if they're just dealing with personal demons or just some sort of an internal struggle. So a lot of the film is basically just left to interpretation for the viewer. Early on, there was also sort of a shrouded or a dark figure that just kind of appears and disappears. This character basically does not show back up again until the near end of the film, which is of course when the protagonist sees this figure. From that point on, things just get fairly bizarre as far as imagery and type things, but the film just kind of just breaks off abruptly. It leaves the viewer with no questions answered. You basically just have to fill in the gaps yourself, and that's kind of interesting. I wouldn't necessarily call this a thought-provoking film, but it definitely leaves you with a lot more questions than anything else. Also, from what I read, this is a first film effort, so obviously they had a very limited budget, but it's fairly creative the way the film is handled. They definitely had the atmosphere going. I wouldn't necessarily say the atmosphere had any effect on me. It was definitely a very dark film as far as subject matter as well as lighting. But I think for the most part it was a very creative film. They did extremely well with their resources. It's just kind of one of those things I just can't fully wrap my head around. I can't make heads or tails of this, but I just figured I'd make mention of that. If anybody wants to take a look at the film, I will go ahead and link that in the description. But yeah, it was basically just a interesting little film that I ran across, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. And that is pretty much it. I will talk to you later.